Hey guys, what is up here? It's Corn, and today we're going to be doing something different, alright? We're not going to be talking about a specific replay, we're not going to be talking about, whatever yap about the balance of the game. Obviously I don't do those videos yet, but maybe one day we'll do it. We're going to be talking about Black Coast, and it's an absolutely fantastic map. I love this map. I'm pretty sure it's also one of the popular ones as well, but instead of talking about the entire map, we're just going to be talking about the flank. And this flank I played a lot. I also think I'm more confident in talking about the ins and the outs of this flank, and something you should keep note of, some sniper spots for recon, this and that in general. So we're going to go through the dynamics of, or like the general idea of this camp really quick in a couple, like maybe half a minute. So the thing about this side of the map is that since there are four caps in the center, both team gets two, and then on this flank there are also three caps. But uh, obviously the central cap is also a contest cap, which it could determine the game. It's basically this contest cap and this contest cap that basically decides the game. If both sides take control of one, then you're even on cap points. It's pretty much just gonna be who gets more kill points and at the end of the phase, something like that. So, but then, if you think about it, if you can manage to hold two camps over your opponent and not think about what's happening on the other side, or maybe send your plane over to help them out a bit, yeah, maybe you'll single-handedly win your team the game. Which is why I think, it's quite nice to be playing on a flank, to be also a bit, to also influence the outcome of the match. Now that being said, this flank isn't always a 1v1. Obviously, it's usually a 2v2 or 3v3. It kind of depends on how your team wants to play the game. But this flank is also important in the sense where it should probably turn into more 2v2s in the future. And I'm going to tell you why. The main reason is because for the city spawn, their air spawn is actually somewhere around here. Somewhere right here. So the thing is that yes, obviously, the city side gets closer air support into their front line, which can help them take G. I've also had like one or two games where like they've devoted most of their cruise missiles to my flank and their planes, and then just bombed me all the way, so I had to retreat all the way back to F. They couldn't take control over G. That was an unfortunate experience. But then, on the other hand, if they don't care so much about this flank, which they only put one guy on this flank, and then it's a 1v1, then if you manage to push through and then you start putting packs like in their face, which when their plane spawns they actually get shot at, then it's not going to be a pleasant experience for them. So this is why I also think this flank is so important. It's actually very vital to the city spawn. And even though they do have an advantage in terms of air support, they're actually a bit further away when it comes to getting into position. So when they spawn here in the back of the map, should be like, where is it? I forgot. Okay, somewhere around here. They actually have to drive all the way to the back here, and then like either get on the ramp from here or here, or just drive through rough terrain, which it actually takes them quite a while to get into E, just to cap it. And then the next thing they're going to be facing is this big ass tree line. And this tree line is also is one of the big things that both teams are going to contest over for like quite a while. Whereas for the coast spawn, you can actually, there's a lot of roads. Right when you spawn, you can just basically drive all the way into F, and then you can also decide to either, okay, I'm just going to go straight. I just want to go into this tree line. You can also get there very quickly. So you might think that I've only been talking about this part of the map, but when in reality there's actually a whole lot more. Oh, there's actually a big L on this side of the map. I'm just gonna use this. There's actually this entire part that I haven't covered yet, but basically this part, especially this side, the city spawn, they actually have a lot of cover here, and that's something that the player on the city side should actually be aware of and take advantage of it. Every time I spawn on the coast side as America, which I play most of the time, they actually send a bunch of stuff into these tree lines, and then which in return they will put a sniper somewhere in this tree line, like somewhere here or maybe in this tree line, and they'll be able to spot almost everything you have, all the setup you have around here, this area, which is going to hurt you if you have like weapon teams or stuff inside of G. So what you want to do instead is that instead of actually you have a lot of stuff to do on this flank, instead of just holding this bush, is that you have a bit of stuff here and there, but then what you want to do is you want a bit of a fast recon force around here, just checking here every now and then. Obviously, if you really do want to devote, which is something I do, I actually have my own snipers come here at the start of the game, and then if with helicopters, with like those fast jeeps from the ISV, I'm because you play as US, you always get to the flank sooner than your opponent does, so you also have a bit of an advantage to get recon sooner than they do. So whenever you spot something coming around, which I might show you in some of the clips that I'll just put in on the screen while I talk, you'll know that something's there, and then if you see that something's been there, then you'll just be able to run back in and then clear it out eventually with either a recon truck or just a tank, maybe even, or normally I suggest you do it just with a with like a IFV. And it's not just recon that comes into these tree lines. You can actually, they also have sometimes have ATGMs. They have helis in the back as well. And this side of the map, it's actually pretty tough to clear if they do manage, if they start piling more and more stuff. So the best thing to do, obviously you don't really have to devote to this side of the map, because the only thing it actually influences is probably this clearing. And this clearing, it's generally a pretty bad place to push into E, because they'll always have ATGMs, like maybe like somewhere in this tree line. They'll also have control of this pretty easily. And then with snipers, like even inside of E, they'll spot everything, like this entire clearing, and then even without helis, they'll be able to defend it pretty easily. So if you do want to push for E, which is something that I only suggest doing at the end of phases, considering that you and your opponents have an equal amount of skill, I wouldn't really try to hold E, and here's the reason why. So as I said earlier, even though it is pretty easy to it does take some time for your opponent to drive all the way into E. There are a lot of things that they can just put their stuff behind and have a lot of cover. So there are a couple bushes that you have to clear all of them. They're also not big enough for you to protect yourself from TAWs or MLRS. So let's say they have it, they got pushed out from here, but they just have a TAW set up in the back, and then they just start going boom, bam, pow, and then you're done. And then they push, and then it's so over for me. The only realistic thing I think, okay, maybe it's kind of far-fetched, but if you really want to do, don't just stop here. I mean, obviously you still need time to resupply after you take E. Is this E? Yeah. You take E and then you clear this tree line, but then what you kind of want to do is to make sure that you have vision starting from like, you manage to push out, clear these buildings, and then get here. This is when you completely take over control of this flank, and there's no way this guy's getting back into the game, because you have recon here over this big clearing. Every time he tries to push in, you have like helicopters with ATGMs, and then like some other stuff that you can use to like screw this guy over. But then obviously this wouldn't happen in a match, or at least your opponents wouldn't let this happen, because they'll probably start spamming planes. They'll devote another guy to fuck you over. So yeah, these kind of scenarios are happen less often, obviously. But still, sometimes, you know, if you happen to move your packs open up a little bit like here, and as you play like something like SF Striker, or you play something like Airborne Striker, these are some decks I recommend playing on this flank. And then you just have the pack set up here, and then once they spawn planes, they'll get shot at, and then yeah, basically they'll find it pretty hard to reinforce E from land, sea, and air. But yeah, this is a scenario where it doesn't happen that often. The stuff that happens most of the time is actually he just clumps a bunch of stuff here with like Logi, and then he starts arting you, arting this triangle bush, and then he has a bit of recon here and there. So, but because it's hard for the Russians to take control of this bush at the start of the game. What you want to do is you at least make sure that they don't push towards into this thing. If they push towards into this thing at some point in the game, you're kind of cooked. What they'll try to do at the start of the game is probably push BTRs, BT3Fs, or BMPs into this tree line, and then just try to beat you. Try to beat you at the start, take control of this tree line, and then now they can actually push for G when their for you, your next point of respite is probably these buildings, which are, you know, pretty close. If he gets another Taz in here and just fucking rails you, not fun. Or here, this is also a decent spot, and you actually don't have a lot of stuff to actually approach after you've lost this triangle bush. I'm not saying you like you have to defend this with your life, because that's also gonna get a lot of RD. What I'm trying to say is, if you have like recon, actually, yeah, I should talk about recon at this point. Because when they start sending units in, that's a time where they realize, oh, I shouldn't RD my own units, so they won't RD you. It's gonna be a fist fight in this tree line. Only when they start losing, they're gonna RD it. But you know, as long as they're not winning, it's good for you. So how do you know when they're coming? For you, there are a couple options. First thing is this bush. You put a sniper in here. So this part is oops. This bush is pretty good. For like the sniper to sit into. You can spot both because you're at the edge here, you can spot basically all the way in like down like this clearing when they decide to push things up here. Obviously at the start of the game you wouldn't be able to get a sniper here and then also spot what's coming in. You gotta do that with the heli or something else. But later in the game when they start to push from here, you'll be able to spot it. And this gigantic tree line here is also very helpful for you. And not only can you influence middle, like let's say Chrysanthema shoots your allies from this bush, then you'll be able to spot it. It's also quite essential in defending F. So this is definitely a pretty good forest that you gotta at least make sure you have some units in. That it shouldn't be ATGM, by the way, because normally your opponent will have snipers in here. We'll go through this later. And if you shoot, then they'll know that, oh, it's an ATGM. He's right there, laser. I'm gonna call it to that thing. So yeah, don't put ATGMs in there. Obviously, you could like have a vehicle, you know, like you just shoot a couple shots and then you go back and resupply somewhere. So these two bushes, make sure you always have like what do you call them again? Like recon in it, because it, even if your opponent decides to like, okay, I'm gonna toss this tree line just to clear the sniper, like they know it's there, but they probably wouldn't really just actively artillery it just to kill like the recon unit that they know that they might know is there, but they're not sure. Because if they don't see it, then they won't RD it most of the time. Obviously, they could blind it. Meanwhile, in the middle, recon isn't that important. You could have like a cheap scout team just sitting here, because right here, you actually, most of your view is going to get obscured by here. What you want to do with recon is that you want to know what's coming, right? If you just see a bunch of these buildings, and then like you only see like the BMPs coming in until like they're like right in front of you, then there's no point in reconning. Obviously, I'm not saying to not have any units in here, but having some at the edge, obviously does help you. Like a cheap scout team, because they will have like a sniper team of their own just sitting here, and if you're not stealthy enough, they will spot it. Like if it's a vehicle here, which could get cruise missile that's like, you know, pretty close. The next spot on the right hand side is this tree line is actually pretty good. What you want to do with this tree line is, instead of just running a vehicle up this road, dropping them here and then running back, he's gonna spot it, obviously. What you want to do is you put the car in G, you drop the sniper squad and you just let them slowly run up here. Slowly run up, and then you'll be able to have vision all the way to the side, which is this road is actually pretty popular for them if they want to push the right hand side of the map. And obviously you'll also have you can also choose to put your sniper in here, which it's actually pretty it's as effective, because if your opponent decides to run like a random truck down this road, then they will spot your sniper. But if you put him here, obviously it's a bit further away, but it's not that bad anyways. It's also much safer, unless your opponent decides, okay, I'm gonna fly a helicopter over and see what happens. The helicopter's gonna be shot down. Hopefully you brought Jorad. And the right bush over here is also it's not the best, but it's something. And if you're at this bush, I would honestly suggest you to just start pushing your sniper like somewhere along this tree line. But then, to be honest, most of your problems would be spotted with a sniper in this area and in this bush. And you would be able to have a good idea of this entire clearing and this entire clearing. So yeah, that's probably everything you need. If since like E isn't going to be your ultimate goal, you just do end of phase pushes into E, and then that should be it. Most of the time you just sit around and just see what you can do to help your friends, and that should be it. And for the right hand side of the map, obviously your opponent could be a bit cringe and decide, okay, I'm just gonna start sending units here instead of actually pushing the cap, and okay, that's a good thing. So how do you defend all this, right? It's a really big flank. How do I, like, even if I do have a recon, right? Like, how do I defend such a big flank? It's so huge. Like, for this side of the map, I'm just gonna let you spoil the video a bit. There's actually 3 ways to attack. First is actually driving down this road and going straight into F. Second way is going through this road from this triangle bush and then into G. And the third one is to taking from the right hand side this road, and then you eventually, because you're way further away from ATGMs, there's also a bunch of buildings here that can block ATGMs, and this road, it's a bit exposed, but once you get into G, and then maybe if they push past here, then they should be safe from ATGMs and helicopters, especially if they're in G, because you can just hide behind buildings, and then my helicopters can't do anything anymore. So yeah, mainly just 3 roads. The one on, sorry, I'll just flip around again. The one on the left, which they might just run it down on F. The one through the triangle bush, and the one on the right. So how do you defend each and every one of them if your opponent decides to bum rush it at the end of the phase or something else? Obviously you gotta make sure you got the recon right. You got the recon here, so if you see them coming, then you'll know they're going for you. The first important thing on this flank is you gotta make sure you always have an ATGM helicopter hovering in somewhere in the back. It doesn't have to be an expensive one, it can be an Apache. The Guardians are the best, obviously. But you can also have Comanches, and Comanches are also versatile in their own way. I don't put Stingers on them, but it's up to you. So let's start from the left. The general idea is that once they push up here, they're gonna be faced with this bush and this, like, a couple buildings here. Try to make sure that you move your sniper a bit more to the left so they don't spot it. There's actually quite a bit of thickness in here, so if you're on the right hand side, then unless they run into this bush, which they actually should, then your sniper wouldn't die. But you know, it's fine, it's a small bush, like just clear it out later after they do the push and then put another sniper in there. You should be fine. But the general idea is you want to make sure you have like some either Marines, airborne, or like just something with a lot of disposable or Maws if you have them. But I wouldn't put Maws in them, honestly. I would just be like maybe 1 RC squad to just kill the transport, and then for the most of the time they're just chilling in here. Just like 1 or 2 or maybe 3 squads just to delay. 1 CQC squad, and 2 of them should probably be AT infantry that can quickly dispatch of their transports. You Because once you spot them, you also have your helicopter that can rotate over, and the closest thing with AA shortcut is probably going to be a Panther here or there, so you actually want to be and put it like behind F, okay? Behind F on this road, which they will eventually dive into this into this tree line if they see the helicopter. So that's when you gotta try and see what your infantry can do. And because you spotted early, you also have a bit of help with your vehicles that can drive over. So as for the middle cap here, it's actually pretty much the same thing. But what I prefer to do is, because this triangle tree line is, this tri-bush is extremely vulnerable to TOS, fucking grads, everything. Everything MLRS, mortars, fucking gun arty, it's annoying. This bush is hell. So what you want to do is to, obviously you could put supplies like at the very edge. This, you can actually put, if you spawn on this side, one of the good things is that you can actually put supplies out here in the open. And because he wouldn't be able, like, even if your opponent puts snipers in here, he can't actually spot, right? Can't actually spot behind this triangle bush. So you can actually put them out in the open, like a little bit in the open, and he still wouldn't spot it. So you could put your units at the outside of the bush, and you could still get away with resupplying until he flies a helicopter in. But before that, you should be safe. And then so it's generally the same idea, but you gotta make sure that because you will spot him with this sniper as well, you'll see him coming. You have you kind of hide your units either like at the edge of the tree line, not in the middle. Depending on your opponent's preferences. Like if he likes to like already this bush, then you hide him in here. If he likes to already this big one, then you hide him in this big bar, this big popsicle. And something you could even do is that when I play Airborne Strikers, I put a bunch of my infantry in IFVs, ISVs, yeah. And then when I see something coming, I just send the ISVs into one of these two bushes, the one that they're pushing, and then yeah, because they run at 120, which is pretty fast. And when you actually run into like when you transport your infantry into these tree lines, they actually arrive faster, sooner than your opponents do, and you can pretty much make sure that you are at least matching what they're trying to do and slow them down. So that's a good thing. For defending this bush, I wouldn't really use helicopters because you're pretty close to this bush and they're always going to have a tor there. What you could do is maybe if you're getting overwhelmed, then having a plane just bomb it, or having your own MLRS sometimes actually does help. So that's the second bush. A third one is generally this road most of the time. I've also had a really sick guy, one or two of them, driving down this road in the T15. Like, God, really? Do you really need to do that? But then, thing is, you could give up this flank. It's okay. You could give up this flank, and then when they try to like push through, you have a helicopter. This flank is mainly just for delaying, so that they don't have vision in this building to spot everything here. But to be honest, your next retreat point is like this big city, and you can always have like a sniper just sitting here spotting whatever he's trying to do among these tree lines, because even though there are a lot of bushes, it doesn't hide the fact that like when he's trying to move units or supplies up, you can still spot it. So yeah, like obviously yes, there's cover to like help him to push all the way up here, and maybe try to get in G if he does with smoke. But to be honest, I haven't met players on this flank that's been smart enough to use smoke. Not yet. But yeah, they could be possible. But yeah, if they do manage to push into these tree lines, which is, yeah, if they do, then put a sniper here, and or here in these buildings, then you should be okay for the most of it. And because it's impossible for them to actually get a helicopter, to get this far in without being artilleried or plane struck by you. So You should be safe on this flank because this side of the map is actually still very open. There's no buildings from here to here. And for you, uh, having helicopters like around this line is good enough to defend yourself into G. And if he does somehow manage to push into G, then I hope you brought some like the same stuff that you would put in these two tree lines, like airborne teams or something. What I like to do sometimes is I put actually put double trooper squads in here. So if he decides to push down this road, then my trooper squad's gonna toss a javelin. If they get, but if they come in from here, I'll probably move them up to this, maybe this building. Maybe this one. This one looks better. You also on the cap for it. Alright, so that now we should be pretty much done with these three like basically how to defend your setup by holding two caps. You open up, you should probably aim to have as many like just don't have helicopters in general. Have a bit more focus on ground infantry, making sure that you have this tri-bush. This one is less important because like if he decides to push here in the beginning of the match, it's really not worth it. Have a bit of recon like here, and then make sure that he doesn't sneak too much stuff from through the right side. Just make sure you have this tri-bush. This is the most important bush, and yeah, as long as he doesn't hold it, then you have control over two caps, which is a good thing. And what you're trying to prevent, you should also make sure that you get an early pack. Just a cheap one, doesn't have to be expensive one, just to maybe shoot down cruise missiles that are coming from me or something. And yeah, but yeah, excuse me guys. Haven't fully recovered for COVID, I suppose. But yeah. General idea of this flank is just hold two caps. At least for this side, hold two caps. And then if you're lucky enough to push into E, don't expect to hold it for long. Because he is going to kind of push back. But if you are lucky enough to actually push him all the way to this clearing, then you've pretty much won. I'm not really here to teach you how to win hard, because honestly, winning hard is like a far-fetched thing when you're against a equally matched opponent. Alright, so that should be it for defending these two caps. But what if things go wrong, right? What if things go wrong and you get absolutely like demolished and then you get pushed all the way back here? So the only thing that you can pray for is probably defending this bush as well, because it's harder to Taz. Like, stay at the edge so that he doesn't have range to Taz you anymore. This bush is also a bit essential to hold. At least have recon in some of these trees, so that when you know when you see that he's pushing, you'll be able to know like this building is okay. This tree line is also pretty nice, and he might eventually push some snipers into here, but you can still leave one here, which is nice, or maybe at the edge of this one. Like this building is pretty nice. It spots almost everything that he does. He tries to push here, and then you also have access to this road. You should just try not to lose it. This road, because if you lose this road and this bush, then it's pretty much over. But then you know, you like also repeat your packs. If you feel like you're gonna lose an engagement and something's gonna break through, because if you don't have your packs, then cruise missiles are gonna come over and go bam 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 and kill everything. So I don't think you actually need tanks to play this flank. For Shurad, I like striker Shurads the most, because you can just drive them on these roads. The good thing about this side of the map and this cap, this flank is in particular, is you have so many roads just to drive around with your strikers, and you'll never be late to an engagement. Especially with if you play airborne, then it's the ISBs are extremely fast. With strikers are also fast as well, and you can you basically act as a QRF police across the entire flank. So what you want to do on this map is to just stay fluidic, make sure that your recons are well positioned, and you also have a bit of support in the back. Rather, you don't really need to go heavy on this flank in support. What you want to do in reality is probably just make sure you have a pack, maybe two if you really wanted. If your opponent has a bit of like stuff that you spot with your recon that you can already, then sure, play a bit of arty, but don't go too heavy in it. Always remember that your opponent is gonna aim for one of these two caps that you hold, and then when you can't help your team out in the middle, because if they do manage to break through and take one of the caps, then it's a big win for you. But if they don't, it's fine. You're still winning on your flank. Yeah, that should be it for this flank, this spawn, the south spawn, I believe. Next video, I'll also make a guide for the north side, how to like the stuff to do when you actually hold two caps as US. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and that's it. This is how I play Black Coast on the south side of the map, is US. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this episode of, I don't know how to call this video, but yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.